Hello, everybody. We're at Massey Ranch in Edgewater, Florida. Taking up the Zenith 701 with the Viking 90 in it. So today we're just doing an introductory flight. We'll do a lot of videos in the next couple of days. Different parameters, different things to look at. This airplane has a manual brake, or basically a hand brake. As you know, an experimental airplane, you can build it any which way you want, so that's what this one got. Got a fuel gauge over here, we're going to keep an eye on him. There's 16 gallons total in this airplane. Our airspeed is at 0, altimeter, we're at sea level in Florida, so we're good there. PSI is fairly accurate, but, you know, close enough for what we're doing. And then the engine monitoring system, we're kind of taxiing around at 1900 RPM here now. Getting down to the end of the taxiway. We'll be taking off on 18, which is a southerly runway here in Massey Ranch, and then we're going to be landing on the grass because of our nice donated tires from Alaskan bush tires, or bush wheels, I forget. But beautiful, beautiful tires, and makes for a fun 701 airplane to fly something like that. All right, take a look at the engine monitor. This airplane's a few years old. It has had we're flying no cowling today, and so it's got a 3-cylinder engine up front, just humming along. It's a 90 horsepower engine by Viking aircraft engines. You can see him sitting just out there with the prop turning. And we're going to do a lot of videos in the next few days, and we'll do some on different propellers, and we'll do different kinds on how to fly these little 701s, and so forth and so on. What else we got? 1900 RPM. Our coolant is coming up, 140. We're ready to take off pretty soon. Our voltage is 14.23. That means our alternator is swinging and turning and charging. The 99 don't mean anything because it's basically a parameter that's not being used right now. And the same with the flow below it. And then we've got your gearbox temperature, our fuel pressure, which is 3 bar on this setup. We have 2 pumps. We can go with battery 1, battery 2, pump 1, pump 2, and that's all redundancy. So we can use whatever we want for takeoff and landing and during cruise flight. Other than that, we're looking at oil temp and oil pressure on the gauges. So for now, let's just lift this thing off the ground, and then we'll do a little more video. Alright, so we're taxiing onto the runway. We've already checked our controls. This has a little flap handle down here. So basically, on this one, up is flaps up, and down is flaps down, and there's some settings in between. So we'll just leave them up. We got lots of runway. It's a long haul going down here. So let's just take off and see how things go. So we're building temperatures. It's going to stabilize at 195, 200, and then the oil will be at 220, which is very normal for this plane. It's just perfect. And the sun is kind of on its last legs here for today. So we'll get a little bit of video, and then we'll do some more tomorrow. This is let's get our transponder on here, right up front. Engine is humming along. For some people, it might be funny to fly without a cowling. For Viking aircraft, all of the hundreds of test hours we do it because it's so easy to check the engine between flights during all the initial testing. Here's an area we call the Florida Shores, here next to where we live. Lots and lots of buildings left and right, kind of a grid like you'd find at New York City. Of course, we're very close to the ocean. We got your intercoastal. You've got your NASA building down there where all the shuttles run up and down from. And we live in a very nice place called Edgewater, very close to New Smyrna Beach, which is a very popular vacation place, and just a lovely place. You can see those big tires down there. Of course, they slow us down. This airplane's set up for fun and bush flying, and not so much anything else. Just some place to go out and have fun with. And so our climb rate, it's 600 feet a minute. We're at 1,400 feet right now. Temperature's starting to stabilize at their final temperatures. Okay, so we're stabilized in cruise, or somewhat anyhow. We're about 1,500 feet. Of course, we don't have a cruise propeller. We have a climb propeller, and we got the big wheel. So 70 is good for us. That's what we like to see, just loafing around, looking at manatees and all kinds of wildlife, like big tourists and stuff. We're having fun, and then. Temperatures have stabilized. The oil will climb a little bit as we go along. It settles at like 218 to 224. Very nice oil temperature. You need to be above 212 in order for moisture to burn up on the oil. Coolant will hang around thermostat temperature 190 to 205, something like that. So other than that, looking outside, it's a beautiful evening. It's not exactly, 100% smooth, but it's smooth enough to have a good flight, good evening flight. Now, let's do a couple of things with this airplane. As you see, I'm flying by myself, but here is something I can explain. You got two batteries. You got your voltage right there, 14.3. If you kick on the other battery, now you're charging both batteries. That's just how the system works. You can turn the other one off, then you'll be flying on number 2. In fact, you can turn both of them off. It's just a show and tell here. You hear a little bit more noise and in the headsets, and the engine and the ECU and everything is operating engine is now running just as if you threw both batteries out the window, kind of like a traditional aircraft engine, where you talk about that you don't need a battery to operate. And that's the same with this little 90 horsepower Viking 90 engine. Once it's started and run, you don't really need those batteries. Of course, we do have 2 of them because we want backup on batteries, we want backup on fuel pumps and all that. All right, well, let's look at a couple other things. We don't need more than one battery of flying. So we fly one leg with one battery, we fly another leg with another battery. We take off and land with 2 pumps, and we just cruise along with 1 pump. Gives us time, if the fuel pressure were to ever die, to flip on the other pump, just like any other airplane. Now, if we were to kind of show off a little bit this kind of an airplane's features, the first thing we'd do is we'd get the throttle to idle, and then we would trim the airplane all the way nose up, because the 701 is the kind of plane it is. It's a slow-going airplane. So now we're flying with our opposite hand because we're holding the stick. Oh, there's the Bahamas, and here's the beach in Florida. Now, as you can see, if I were to lower these flaps that are out there, just kind of pull the handle down here and bring the flaps down right there, then you can see the airspeed bleeding off to almost nothing. And in fact, if you just keep pulling the stick, which is what these airplanes are for, stick all the way back, the airplane will not stall. In fact, the airspeed will kind of show 0, which of course it's not 0. But the airplane will just kind of sit there and bob a little bit, and it'll do that all the way down to the ground. So you can just kind of hold it there. And now if you were to add just a tad about of power, you'll get an even better feeling. Let's see, now we're at idle power, so if we put it at 2,500, we'd have to release the stick just slightly, because the nose will come so far up into the air it would feel a little bit uncomfortable. But even then, the airplane just sits there. The airspeed is reading 0. That's a very normal thing in these types of stall airplanes. It takes a lot of practice to carry this all the way to the ground, and that's how you get your absolute shortest stall landings. To have kind of have the guts to do that, hold the rudder in, or neutralize it basically, because you don't have hardly any P factor, and then hold the stick so far back that the nose is up, and then at this point, once you get an airplane into a situation like this, the throttle is everything. Okay, at this point, you regulate your descent rate with the throttle. Okay, so there's 500 feet a minute, almost at idle, but we can reduce a little bit of stick, add a little bit of power, and still have that 0 airspeed, because now we're at a little bit more power. So it's the same deal. The nose is way up in the air. We're in that kind of high angle of attack situation, but we have more control because we have air blast from the engine over the tail. So now we have really good control of the airplane. Even though we're in this very, very slow flight condition, we're just using the power from the engine to control our tail. We're putting prop wash across the tail, and that's just how we're flying it. As you can see, this little engine is a perfect little engine for this plane. You can fly it anywhere, for RPM all the way down 2,000 RPM all the way to 5,800 RPM, depending on what kind of performance you want. All right, so now to kind of recover from this, if you want to say, which there isn't really any, I would just add the normal amount of power, like a cruise setting. Let's just say we go to 5,800, and then we relax the stick, and we just trim it for a cruise flight. Now, of course, cruise flight in this airplane is 70. It's 90 with smaller wheels and a cruise propeller, but today it's 70. That just shows you the difference that you get from what the pitch of the propeller that you're putting in, or what your airplane wants to do for you. I would recommend for anyone that, I've flown these little Zenith airplanes a lot, and the 701 look-alike airplanes. There's a lot of these types of planes. Zenith is the most famous and easy to build. The airplane will do what it's supposed to do the best, So you wouldn't want to build a 701 and then even start talking on it to anyone on a forum, or to yourself, or to your brother, or to anyone about how you're going to make it go faster, because that's not what it's for. It's for this. It's for looking out, for having fun, looking at the people down below, playing on a little trip to a field somewhere that's shorter than, other airplanes can go into. Maybe just go into a grass strip that has a restaurant. And, it's really, really kind of cool. And for instance, all this marsh you see down here, a lot of these are big enough and dry enough that we can put this thing in and land and hang out, maybe do some fishing if you're into fishing, and then, it's just a really nice thing. Okay, now you can see our temperatures have settled to the 187 and 200. Oil pressure is almost 70, 65, 67. Everything's very stable. It's a fun airplane. It's a good time. Today we did a kind of a slow speed demo. Tomorrow we'll do something else. For me, it's just, and people here at Viking, is to be able to just go up and use this plane and fly it around, build hours on our new engine. This has been on this plane for a while now, but we keep flying it every day. It's very important to us to have everything tested properly for engines that we market to other people that might be building a 701 or a Sonix or a small single-seat gyrocopter, or anything in a powered parachute, anything that could use this 92, 90 horsepower engine. Now, right now we're not really reluctant to say that it's 90 horsepower, because that's what the dyno said, and that's what it is. But we have seen power increases throughout our test program, which is exciting, with different mufflers, and now we're testing propellers for additional thrust and so forth. So in a little bit here, we might be able to actually demonstrate equal or better thrust from the engine than the Rotax, the 100 horse. So that'll be exciting. Of course, it's all about efficiency, ease of operation. This engine is fuel injected. It's a very simple, 3-cylinder engine, so there's nothing complicated here. There's nothing that you have to really go out and adjust, or carburetors to tune, and it just has a nice sound, and it operates nice, very smooth inside. As you can see, nothing vibrates inside the airplane. So it's a lovely little engine. We love it. Sun is going down here. Let's head back, and then what we can do is maybe catch a grass field landing, if we can do that solo pilot. Just because we talk about that this is a sightseeing type of plane and all that, and it is what it is, but it's also fun. You can horse a plane like this around the sky. Just because it's a stall airplane also makes it extremely maneuverable. You basically have all kinds of control on an airplane like this. You can fly very slow, you can fly at a cruise speed, or anywhere in between. Right now we're like at 40 miles an hour, and we're going around like crazy. And it's very responsive to the rudder and to the stick, and you can fly it very precisely. It's a fun airplane. So we're going to head back to the Massey Ranch Airport, which is right in focus right now. Yes, here's the Massey Ranch Airport. This is where Viking aircraft engine is located. We have a tiny section of the grass back there that we can use for landing with these Tundra tires, because we definitely don't want to keep landing them on the pavement if we don't have to. It's more fun to land on the grass, and also saves the tires because they are soft and they're big. Now, what you need to do with landing one of these guys is you have to have your hand on the throttle at all times. Now, holding the camera myself, that's not going to happen. So, what we're going to do is do a kind of a compromised stall landing, because let's see how that works out. Because we normally would just kind of hang the airplane with the nose up, and we would regulate throttle for the descent. That's something that we can't do right now. In fact, we're aiming for that piece of grass over there, and in order to do that, we're going to have to add a little bit of throttle. So let's do that and then come back to the video. Okay, so we add a little bit of throttle. Like I said, that's opposite of norm. Well, it's not, but that's what we would have to maintain is throttle. So now let's reduce it a little bit. And now, since we don't have enough throttle to stay airborne, we have to keep it coming down since we don't have throttle in order to not get too much of an increase in sink rate. And then we're just going to arrest it just as we touch down. And there we are. And we're going to cut the throttle. And obviously you want to hold the stick back, as soon as you get down. Be gentle on the brakes. You don't really need any brakes on grass. Maybe, unless of course you're running out of room. But stick all the way back. Then there you are. Just keeps that nose a little bit lighter. So we did pretty good, and set our idle to like 1900, 2200. We're down a little grass field. It's parallel with a regular runway. They're kind of a nice setup. Taxi back and make a video out of this.
Here's this little beautiful plane that we took up and flew. It is a nice little plane, but mostly what we're showing you is the setup up front, which is what Viking aircraft engine does. We have a nice little 3-cylinder engine. It's a modern Mitsubishi engine. It's very, very smooth running. Puts out tons of power, and it's a hoot to fly. It actually competes with the Rotax 912 at much less cost and complexity, and we feel smoother. It's just a really nice engine to go and fly. We're going to show videos of this beautiful combination in the next few days to come.